all-star team. Anthony Daly, Liam Sheedy, Derek McGrath, Christy O'Connor, Enda McAvoy and more before the biggest game of the year. Buy in store or subscribe for free home delivery at irishexaminer.com.
Simprove is a best-selling digestive health supplement packed with live and active bacteria to support your gut, ease bloating and improve digestion. Right now, when you buy the Simprove 12-week program, you'll get a free Simprove on-the-go pack. Perfect for travelling. Plus, a free week supply of our new pineapple flavour worth €256. All for just $199.99. Visit simprove.ie today. Always read the label. Food supplements are not a substitute for a varied diet.
Mr. Blue Sky, please tell us why.
The Lotto jackpot is an estimated €11.8 million.
Play responsibly in store, in app, or at lottery.ie.
The National Lottery. It could be you.
Time stands still in the Irish National Stud and Gardens, surrounded by nature, soothing your senses, watching newborn foals, breathing in the beauty of the Japanese gardens, relaxing. The Irish National Stud and Gardens. It's not just a day out, it's a day off. Book now at irishnationalstud.ie.
At Power City, you can recycle your old electrical appliances free. To find out more, go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to see the world through a different lens? We go through life as one tiny piece of a larger puzzle. I'm Keith Barry, and in my new podcast, I'm opening my mind to help you discover the weird, wonderful, and bizarre side of the human experience. Whether I'm exploring the world of psychics and professional ghost hunters, or talking to a man who spent over 100 days alone in the Atlantic Ocean, Keith Barry's open mind will expand your horizons, and at the very least, give you your next coffee break conversation starter.
Keith Barry's Open Mind, a Go Loud original. Follow, share, and rate wherever you get your podcasts.
The Saturday panel
on Off the Ball. Brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions. Upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care. Because care changes everything.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. You can WhatsApp us today, folks. 0879 180 180. Any thoughts on the Lions? The Saturday panel on Off the Ball brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions, and upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care because care changes everything. So the Lions have won the opening test in Brisbane 27-19. Tries from Sione Tuipulotu, Tom Curry and Dan Sheehan. They did lead 24-5 at one stage before the Wallabies put a bit of gloss on the scoreline with a couple of tries. And in the studio are the former Ireland international second row Devin Toner and the Irish Daily Mail rugby writer Hugh Farrelly. Devin and Hugh, how's the form?
Hey John. All good, thanks for having me on.
And on the line from Brisbane after 2 o'clock will be the former Ireland back row, Alan Quinlan. Quinny was at the game, so we'll get his, I suppose, stadium thoughts on it. But comfortable, I would say. Devin, would you?
Yeah, I think comfortable. I think got the job done. I don't think it ever looked in doubt for the Lions, I suppose. Really good first 60 minutes, but then kind of maybe with a bit of complacency came in the second half. Australia obviously got some impetus from the bench. A couple of lads come on and played really well, and obviously getting a few tries. So there's obviously a lot to do, but I think both teams need to obviously step it up for next week. I think Australia will be better. But obviously the Lions need to be a bit better as well.
Melbourne next week. Did Andy Farrell get his team selection right?
Yeah, I think we were saying off air there that a couple of players obviously vindicated their selection. I think Tyg Byrne played really well. A couple of good steals in the first half, especially in the line-out as well. I think Tom Curry played really well. Jones played really well 13. So I think Andy got the selection right, I think.
What about you, Hugh? What was your general assessment of the whole thing?
Well, there's been a lot of talk, as you know, for the last few weeks about the whole thing being made flat, and I think we really need it. The best thing for the series would have been an Aussie win, and I was actually writing about it yesterday. I just thought Joe might have something, I have a lot of time for Joe Schmidt, but you can be the best coach in the world or best poker player in the world. It depends on the hand you have, and he doesn't have enough quality there. So as Devin says, it was never in doubt. The worst case scenario would have been a hammering for Aussie, because that would have just killed the series stone dead. As you said there, it was 24-5 at one point.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're looking at calling time of death on the series. But the bench thing did give it a flutter of a heartbeat. I think the Australians will be better next week. I think they'll make some changes. Their bench had a notable impact. Angus Bell, these guys will maybe start next week. He might look at Donaldson as well. Tom Lyon, Michael Lyon, is young fella, like, he was just thrust into the deep end. And
first start.
Yeah, like,
you know, Wallabies jersey.
That's a massive ask, you know what I mean? So, and like, I'd say Farrell wouldn't be thrilled with the Lions bench. They lost a bit of momentum, so, you know, a couple of guys might be vulnerable there. In terms of the Irish, like Devin was talking about, I thought they all did well. Maybe James Lowe had a couple of moments that might be a bit shaky. So if you're looking at Blair Kinghorn and Mac Hansen being available, he could be vulnerable. I thought Hugo Keenan, given what he's been through with illness and stuff, I thought he had some excellent moments and a couple of rocky ones too. So it's still breathing, the series. Like, there's a bit of intrigue building up for Melbourne, but the Lions look to be a level up.
So you played in some amazing games for Ireland, Grand Slam in 2018, the whole thing, and you won at Twickenham, and you played against New Zealand in 2018 when we beat New Zealand in Dublin first ever time. When you're looking at the television, can you tell the intensity or pitch of a game versus games you played in that were like marquee games?
Yeah, yes and no. I think it's hard to kind of tell the intensity from where you're sitting just watching the TV as well. Like, from what I looked at today, the intensity didn't really look as big as one of those kind of big international games, I suppose. I think the physicality from both sides can probably get better. I think obviously Australia are missing Will Skelton, who is obviously one of the most physical players in the world. He was unbelievable. Obviously, when we used to play him for La Rochelle, I used to hate playing against him because he's obviously just a lump of a man. But yeah, I think the physicality needs to get a bit better, or a bit better, obviously, from both teams next week. And I suppose it didn't really look like both teams were kind of out in their feet at all, I suppose. I think they both had something else more in the tank, I think.
We have to be realistic here as well, John. Like, these are not vintage teams. You know, that's not a vintage Lions squad. If you go back to the 2001 series between Australia and the Lions, and Australia were world champions, it's full of world XV players like Martin Johnson, John Eales, Brian O'Driscoll, Johnny Wilkinson. This Lions squad isn't in that calibre, and the Aussie squad is way off that calibre. So we're looking at a kind of, you know, I watched New Zealand versus France again this morning. Like, there's a lot of talk about Lions maybe touring France, and the France second string again. Trevor Brennan's young fella was playing. Like, that looked several levels up in quality to what we watched there with the Lions, if we're going to be brutal about it. Like.
Right, interesting. Okay. The second half, Australia got a couple of late tries. Why do you think the Lions kind of... Did they dip? Did Australia get better? Because it just feels like the Lions were comfortable, and then, not that it was sloppy, but they only win by 8 points.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both. I think Australia obviously got a bit of impetus from the bench coming on and doing really well. I think Tate McDonald, who came on at 9, did really well to up the tempo a bit. Lions probably got a little bit complacent, but also a bit of discipline as well. We gave away a good few penalties to let them get into the Lions half in the 22 and stuff. So I think it was a little bit of discipline, and then obviously the Australia doing well. But I think obviously our defence wasn't as good in the second half either. I think in the first half the Lions' defence was really good. They weren't letting anyone through. There was hardly any missed tackles, and then the second half we saw them falling off a few tackles. So the defence wasn't as good as the first half.
Yeah, the stats were, highly in favour of the Lions at the first half. Like, Dan Sheehan got another try in a big game early in the second half, folks, and 15 tries in 32 games for Ireland. Given as captaincy in one of the earlier games, the tour scores a try, and it's just phenomenal. His try scoring rate as a hooker.
Yeah, he's fast on his way to becoming a legendary player, to be honest. I think he's, for such a young guy, and obviously I saw it early on when he was coming through the setup. This tall hooker in the academy coming in, and he was scoring tries for fun, even against us in training. Do you know what I mean? So you can tell obviously the skills are there, and he's worked really hard in his line-out throwing as well. He had 100% line-out throws today, which were really good. Obviously Roland Keller came off the bench, and we missed a few. I think one was from movement. I think one was overthrown. So I think it was obviously hard for any hooker coming off the bench to get it. But I think Dan did really well with his line-out throwing anyway.
What was his personality like in the squad with Leinster?
Yeah, he is what he is. You could like tell what he's like in interviews. He's a sound man. He like there's not much strange about him. Do you know what I mean? But he's a really good team player, and he's really kind of he fits in wherever he's needed. Like
compared to Wood he now at this stage?
Well, I was just saying, maybe I was a bit harsh saying, not like Dan Sheehan is a guy who could get to. Keith Wood is the best hooker Ireland has ever had, and then maybe Jerry Flannery at his peak after that, or you could go back to Ken Kennedy way back in the day. But Sheehan is exceptional. Like he's as Devin says there, like the size of him, the speed of him, he makes the right decisions. He's an intelligent player too. He's top notch, and I'd say Tadhg Furlong, when his time is done, will be remembered right up there as well. So I also give a mention to Jack Conan. I think
33 at the end of this month.
Conan.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how Devin would feel about this, but if you can indulge me, I remember 2013 going to wandering into Anglesey Road some random Saturday, and Old Belvedere were playing Greystones in the Leinster Cup game. And I ran into Tony Ward, who I'd known from the Indo, and Wardy said, "Watch out for that's number 8. He's going to play for the Lions." Jack Conan, because Wardy would have coached him in Gerrards and Bray, I think it was. Yep. And I've been looking out for him ever since. And without being too, I think he should have a lot more caps. I think Ireland went through a phase of CJ Stander at number 8, who was a great warrior, etc. But he was very route one. Now, maybe there was injuries there with Conan at the time, but Conan has, I think he's a fantastic player, and fantastic all-round player. And I think he's showed again today that he's proper test match animal.
I'm a big fan of Jack. I think it was underrated as well when I was playing with him, that he was very good in the line-out as well. Well, he's not obviously not needed when Tigers at 6. So when he's needed to, he can jump very well. And as I said, I'm a big fan of Jack. He's a phenomenal player, and he gets gain line every single time.
Did you feel he kind of missed out back in that period?
Yeah, I think so. But there was a very a lot of factors, I suppose, because he went through a fair few bad injuries as well. Like he was out for a very long time, and then obviously with Caelan Doris on the scene as well, it's very hard with another world class player in your position as well. So he obviously missed out a bit with the injuries. But he's going to look back on his career, and he's, obviously 2 Lions tours and 2 Lions Test series. Do you know what I mean? So he's going to look back and he's going to be proud, I think.
Yeah, and he's understated. He's not a chest out kind of guy. He doesn't look for hands up or look at me kind of stuff. And I think maybe he goes under the radar a bit. I think he's phenomenal.
And his age, you played obviously to a good age, so do you feel it with every single year, 31 to 32? I mean, do you feel it, or 33 at the end of this one?
Yeah, you probably do. Probably a bit more for the back rows as well, though. Do you know what I mean? It's probably different for second rows. I was able to just kind of motor along at the same speed, But I think for back rows, I'd say it's a lot more kind of taxing on you, I suppose.
How much did your height help you as a player? Because obviously was it 6'7", is it?
I'm 6'10".
6'10",
yeah. Well, how did it help me? My height is the reason I was there in the first place. I very much know that I was picked because of my height. So if I didn't have the height, I wouldn't have been picked. So back in when Joe was with Leinster first and now with Ireland, his game plan, what he needs is someone to win ball at line out, and that's why he picked me, because I was able to give it to them on a platter basically. So if the line out didn't work, you weren't going to get picked. So that's the reason why I was there and why it kind of worked, I suppose.
I think Devin's been a bit modest there. There was a lot more than line out. But there's been a lot of talk about Ireland's kind of misfunctioning line out over the last couple of years. When this lad was playing, it was 100% guaranteed, and the quality delivery as well. It wasn't just a height thing, it was the calling, the intelligence of it, and it set up a period of sustained success for Ireland. So I think Devin's underselling himself a bit there.
When you're dwarfing lads, you must get taken every time. You're just getting confidence out of that then.
Yeah, you do get confidence, but I think when it comes to calling, it's one thing that kind of when Leo went into coaching as well. Because obviously Leo, I learned most of my line out of calling ability from Leo as well. And then when he transitioned into the coaching setup, and then I was obviously calling myself, and I'd throw it to different areas. I'd throw it to the front and the back and stuff. And he'd after the game, he'd literally look at me and he's like, "Why don't you just throw to the bloody 6'10" lad?" Yeah. Basically. So then I was like, "Oh right, okay, yeah." So it kind of threw on myself a bit more. So it's kind of when you're calling line out, you want your banker balls, and you kind of you obviously trust yourself and trust the hooker, so you kind of start throwing to yourself a bit more, I suppose, yeah. And
it doesn't have to be this elaborate river dance thing, sure. Just get a guy up there and hit him.
Yeah. What about the back row there? Tom Curry had a good game.
Tom Curry, yeah, he was kind of everywhere, as again he vindicated his decision, obviously with the try as well, and then putting Dan away in the corner for his try, his hands, and obviously they're intercepting that line out in the second half. So Australia tried to go over the back to the winger, and he intercepted that, and we ended up scoring in the corner. So that was really good vision from him. So again, yeah, really kind of vindicated.
John McCarthy will have a lot to reflect on, won't you? Just given he's such a young player still, and you're playing in there in the first Test of Lions series, has been quite the graph, the progression for him the last few years. Very meteoric rise for him. As another one that I saw very much from the start, like his first Leinster cap was it was against Cardiff away. It was his first cap, and it was my 270th cap, and we're playing away in Cardiff, and we ended up losing in Cardiff. But literally the only player that stood out that played well was Joe McCarthy. He was literally ripping up trees from day one, and you could just tell from day one that he was going to be a phenomenal player. And he's just proven that every team he's been in that he again proves that he's able to be there, and he'll stick by everyone. You can see there was a little bit of a kerfuffle starting at one stage, and he jumps in and stops it. You know what I mean? So you kind of need. Now I kind of hate the name enforcer, but you need someone who is going to be kind of that physical aspect in the team, who's going to be kind of stamping their authority. And he's only 22, is he? Is he not even 20?
He's early 20s, yeah.
So again, he's another one who has proven his selection time in and again with Leinster and Ireland now with the Lions.
I think it's a huge thing, John, because we don't produce those guys naturally. There's a guy down in Munster called Edwin Adogbo who's coming back from injury, a long injury, and he'd be similar kind of. He's about 6'5", he's built like a tank. He's supposed to be ripping up trees down there. They say he's put on 10 kg. You hear all this stuff in pre-season, but it's great to have that kind of bulk, because when you think of the great teams, you know, Backy's both. You play Bradthorn? Yeah, like those guys. We don't produce those guys normally. So to have someone like McCarthy in there, and hopefully a Dogbo coming through as well, is a big thing, you know.
Finn Russell was described as what? Flash by Johnny Sexton. He seemed to orchestrate the game well.
Yeah, he did. It seemed like he was everything was ticking along very nicely, and he had a good couple of touches, and his handling was really good today. I think he kind of managed things really well. Nothing like everything he tried kind of seemed to pull off a bit. So it seemed like he had a pretty good game. Yeah,
it looks like he's gone up a level, isn't it? Like we'd have seen Russell over. I remember him fluffing a drop goal for Glasgow against Munster like 10 years ago, and thinking, oh, this guy got the flaky tag in Ireland very quickly, and he would have come up against Ireland regularly under Schmidt and Farrell and not produced. But since he's gone to Bath, you know, winning the league with Bath and stuff, he looks a different animal out there now. He looks very in control. He doesn't look. He's nailing his kicks as well, isn't he? Like he looks like he's gone up a level.
Yeah, I remember playing against him, obviously for Glasgow and Scotland over the years, and not really seeing what the hype was all about, because he never really performed against us, really. Like, because as I said, I don't know, was it flaky or not? Probably a bad word to use, but he never really performed against us, so I never really saw it. But then ever since he came back to Bath, and obviously in the last couple of years with Scotland, he's kicked on. So like he's obviously gotten a much better player than he was. Obviously,
well, they reckon that with Scotland, you know, he's got a front five under pressure. You know, he's now surrounded by good players, and maybe that's the case in Bath as well. So I mean, the talent is obvious. Again, is he 33 as well? It's a pity that he's hitting this streak, you know, at that time.
And Gibson Park and him.
Yeah, that was nailed on as the Test halfback partnership from before the tour, and they've lived up to it.
Even with Thomas Williams.
Thomas Williams was good, yeah, but Gibson Park was seen as the guy. Yeah, and it's just been assumed that they're going to start, and they've lived up to it. I thought, well, Devin knows a lot more about him than I would, but I thought he was excellent. I thought he keeps the whole thing flowing very well.
Yeah, Gemma I thought Gemma had a really good game, but I think that's just standard for him now. He doesn't have a bad game. I think he's become a phenomenal player over the last year or two. I think everything that happens good in a Ireland team, and obviously Lions team now, it comes from him, stems from him, about how quick he can get the ball out from ruck. If the ball is held up in the ruck a bit more, he can still fling that pass and get a really good pass, even though he doesn't have time to. So he's a really smart player. His rugby IQ is huge, and he's able to obviously just see things that other people can't.
Do you know what, John? Like if we can be parochial for a second, what's almost unfortunate when we talk about age is that he's 33, Conan's 33, Furlong, and you're thinking 2 years' time, World Cup, have they just gone past it a bit, because they're so good at the moment. It's just, you wish we could get this timing right.
Well, the parochial thing is important for Ireland in this Lions because 8 starters today, players off the bench. Farrell's the coach. You got Sexton, Easterby, even Gary Keegan helping out there as well. If this goes wrong, it's not good for Ireland. Like if it goes right, if it's 3-0, grand, tick the box. But if it goes wrong, it's not great, is it?
Well, if it goes wrong, there was people lining them up, because, I think I might have said it on here before, but on these Lions tours, the British media or English media dominate. Like there's 80% of them, and was there 4 English starters today? So the minute, I remember in 2009 on that tour, they were waiting for Paul O'Connell because he was the target, because there was very few English on that side. I think Simon Shaw came out with the second test and they were obsessing about him. So if Farrell, as Devin said earlier, Farrell got his big calls right, Curry and Byrne, so that stood to him, and they won, so that'll keep the mob quiet. Genge was very good for the English guy. Tommy Freeman I thought was kind of quiet, but you're right, as long as they keep winning, everything's justified. Because to be honest, when I saw, and nothing against him as a player, Jamie Osborne and then Thomas Clarkson being announced individually, rather than I was just going, oh Jesus, where's this going to stop? And you're kind of going, why aren't the Brits or the English journalists going nuts over this? But as long as it's successful, all is well.
Yeah. What about the Scottish centres? Are they in pole position again I know Ringrose obviously had this HIA. Did they work well enough today to be?
Yeah, I think so. I think that everyone kind of played to a standard that I don't think they're not going to get picked next week. I think it's going to be a fairly similar team that you're going to see next week. Obviously, Tuipulotu did really well for his try in the first half, but it was obviously a great vision from Russell for that big loopy pass. I think they didn't do anything bad. I think their defence was was pretty good. Jones nearly got over for that try, but got pulled back. But I think in general, I think they played pretty well and they did enough to get selected.
I think Jones is arguably player of the tour so far. He's been really good, and as Devin said, I think they work together. I could see changes on the bench. I mean, the fact that the Aussies won the impact battle, do you bring in a Pollock or Josh van der Fleer maybe? I think maybe Farrell wouldn't have been thrilled with how they let the game slip away from them slightly, even though they went on to win it. So he might look at the bench for next week.
Did you see things that Joe Schmidt was trying to do in the Wallabies team?
Yeah. You did, yeah. As I mentioned earlier on, so every team that Joe coaches, it starts with the set piece, and then obviously they got a few lineouts wrong as well. They did overthrew a couple. Tig stole one. They kind of got up and some of the delivery wasn't great. So you can see that there was a couple of 4-man, 5-man lineouts that were thrown in that they were trying to set something up from. And then there was another one where it was a 5-man, and they actually got it. They got to the midfield, and it looked like they were trying to do something around the corner, but just the ruck ball was slow, and they didn't get out in time. And then we kind of overran the pass, so they kind of had to wait a bit. So it was you could see that they were trying to do something, but just couldn't really pull it off because their lineup really didn't really perform to best they could, really.
This is the Saturday panel on Off the Ball, brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care, proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions. Upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care, because care changes everything. Delighted to have Big Devin Toner in studio, and you Farrelly of the Irish Daily Mail. We've got Quinny, Alan Quinlan in Brisbane after 2 o'clock on the panel here. If you want to WhatsApp us any questions, comments, thoughts, opinions about the Lions, do so. 087 9 180 180. We're back after the news at 2.
Follow at Newstalk FM on Instagram for the latest videos from our presenters, reporters and team behind the scenes. Newstalk. Conversation that counts.
Go green for good on Newstalk with Repack.
Did you know about Repack? We have over 3,500 members from local shops to major brands, all committed to responsible packaging recycling. They understand that sustainable practice makes good business sense. We help them to meet their legal obligations. Join them. Find out more at repack.ie.
Go green for good on Newstalk with Repack, proudly supporting a circular economy.
Hurling is a game of 2 halves, just like a Centra chicken fillet roll. First half comes out hot, big impact, early doors. The second half, you dig in, bite down and finish strong. And the mood ice cream, that's the final whistle, pure relief.
Where there's hurling, there's Centra, proud sponsor of the GAA All-Ireland Hurling Championship.
Most travel insurers see your lost bag as a lost bag, but VHI Multi-Trip sees the head melt, the lost party dress, the ugh. With coverage of all your trips all year from €59.99, there'll be less melted heads and more melted ice cream. VHI Multi-Trip. That's how VHI does travel insurance. Terms and conditions apply. Prices for adults 18 to 64. VHI Healthcare DAC trading as VHI Healthcare is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland and is tied to Collinson Insurance Europe Limited for VHI Multi-Trip travel insurance.
Time stands still in the Irish National Stud and Gardens. Surrounded by nature, soothing your senses. Watching newborn foals. Breathing in the beauty of the Japanese gardens. Relaxing. The Irish National Stud and Gardens. It's not just a day out, it's a day off. Book now at irishnationalstud.ie.
The stylish range of Belling kitchen appliances are renowned for quality and reliability. In addition, Belling appliances come with a full 2-year warranty. Go online to powercity.ie or call in store today.
The North Face. Out here, we play different. No games, no refs, no scores. Just pure focus. Adrenaline. On the edge. In the zone. In the rain. In the cold. In the middle of nowhere. In the middle of everything. Never stop exploring. The North Face. Dundrum Town Centre, Blanchardstown Centre, Grafton Street and Cork.
Dating apps. I know what you're thinking. They're all the same. They don't work. And to be honest, for a lot of them, you're probably right. But for me, Go Dating was different. For a start, every Go Dating profile and photo is checked by a real person, not some AI bot. And the two-way matching feature actually works. Well, it did for me anyway. So maybe it'll work for you. Go on, give it a go.
Find your someone special. Sign up today at godating.ie. As loved by News Talk.
Here at News Talk, we've got some exciting original podcasts. Here's a snippet from Show Me the Science with Professor Luke O'Neill, a weekly series that explains different topics through science.
It's hard to imagine when people began digging up these bones. Can you imagine the shock and awe when fossil hunters dug up these massive bones of these creatures and wondered, what the hell are these? The Chinese get the credit, as they often do for things. They dug up the first dinosaur bones hundreds of years ago. Guess what the Chinese thought? They must have been the remnants of dragons. And in fact, one idea where the myth of dragons came from is these dinosaur bones must have been, dragons that died off and left their bones there. That was one idea the Chinese had anyway.
To hear the full podcast, go to newstalk.com, the News Talk app powered by Go Loud, or wherever you get your podcasts. On 106 to 108 FM, on the News Talk app powered by Go Loud and Smart Speaker. This is News Talk, your IMRO National Station of the Year.
It's 2 o'clock. Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Pitcher. The Ain 2 leader is calling on the Justice Minister to release details of prisoners who failed to return to jail while out on temporary release. It comes as figures obtained by Padder Tobin reveal that 702 prisoners were unlawfully at large in 2024. Of those, 126 remained at large at the end of the year. The TD for Meath West says the public needs more information on prisoners in question.
We believe that the Minister now should detail exactly what type of offences were involved. Were these violent offences? Are these people a threat to people at the moment? The Minister, at the very least, should make that information available, and the Minister needs to reform the prison system.
The government's plan to cut speed limits nationwide has hit major roadblocks, with key changes now delayed and left up to local councils. The reduction of national secondary road limits from 100 to 80 kilometres an hour has been pushed to 2026 and councils can opt out. Each authority will also get a say on 30-kilometre limits in rural areas. Campaigners say that road safety strategy has been watered down, but transport commentator Conor Faulkner doesn't agree.
What we do need is local authorities to get on and do the work to make sure that speed limits have been applied appropriately. But I think it's something of an overstatement to say that this particular measure, or it not coming in until next year, is going to have some sort of a dramatic effect. I don't think it'll be that impactful one way or the other, to be honest.
Witnesses and officials have accused Israeli troops of opening fire on crowds of Palestinians at aid sites in Gaza. Reports suggest that 32 people have been killed in 2 sites around Rafah. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is disputing suggestions the incidents happened near its aid distribution hubs. And more than 130 people are injured after a car drove into a crowd of people in Los Angeles. 7 of the victims are said to be in a critical condition after they were hit while queuing for a nightclub in East Hollywood. Captain Adam Van Gerpen from LA's fire department says one of those hurt has also been shot.
As part of our triage, when the paramedics were loading up one of the patients that was considered immediate, they were on their secondary inspection of him. They did find that there was a gunshot wound. So, reports are that it's the driver. We haven't confirmed that yet.
That's it for now. More at 3.
News Talk weather.
Thanks to Ryanair. Fed up with Irish rain? Soak up some summer sun with Ryanair's short break flights to Barcelona, Pisa or Nice.
A mix of dry and sunny spells along with occasional scattered showers, heavier in parts of Munster. Highest temperatures of 21 degrees. And now you're up to date on News Talk.
The Saturday panel on Off the Ball.
Brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care. Proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions. Upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care. Because care changes everything.
And you're welcome back to Off the Ball Saturday on News Talk. John Duggan with you 3 to 5. We're reflecting on the Lions' first test against Australia in Brisbane with the ex-Ireland second row Devin Toner and the Irish Daily Mail journalist Hugh Farrelly in studio. In the next few moments we'll have Alan Quinlan on the line as well from Brisbane. Let's get some reaction now to the win, which was it was a comfortable win despite the scoreline. It was a 27 points to 19 victory. Tries by Sione Tubalatu, Tom Curry and Dan Sheehan. The Lions did lead 24-5 before the Wallabies put a gloss on the scoreline with a couple of late tries. Here is the head coach, Andy Farrell, speaking of Sky Sports.
Obviously delighted to get the results. To get the first one under the belt, it takes us to the last game, that's for sure. It's a big occasion. It's a big occasion for all these lads, you know, and I thought we did the shirt proud. I thought how we attacked the game, certainly in the first half, was very pleasing. To come here, obviously, spiritual home for the Wallabies, it's very pleasing to come away with the victory. I thought we started the game very well. I thought our game control was excellent throughout. I thought the back row were immense to a man. I suppose it was a talking point all week, and I'm so glad for them because they stood up. Our physicality was really spot on in the first half, and obviously in the second half though we liked a little bit of discipline within our own game, not just penalty wise but loose carries, offloads, etc. that slowed the game down for us. So plenty to work on for us, which is a good place going into game 2.
That is Andy Farrell, and let's hear now from the number 6 Tyg Byrne, the Munster player, speaking to Sky Sports.
Proper test match, you know, particularly the last quarter there, we were, you know, it was a real battle, and I said over there, you know, Australia probably take a bit of confidence with how they finished the game there, and it's something we're going to have to look at in terms of leaking penalties. But as a performance overall, you know, we stepped up today, we put in a good performance, we got the job done, I suppose, and you know, roll on next week. I think our discipline, you know, we were right on the edge there, we were close to a yellow card, so you know that's going to be a big focus for us. But overall, I think, you know, we were good. We controlled the game well. We particularly in the first half, we managed the game well. So we really lost our way towards the last quarter, and that's probably where we're going to have to focus on.
Hearing from Andy Farrell in the week, he spoke about you and what a big game player you are. Can you just tell us how much you enjoyed yourself out there tonight? A huge number of red shirts out there too. Yeah, no, I loved it, and you know, I suppose my performances leading up to this weren't, you know, some of my best, and I didn't know if I'd be in for this game. So, you know, getting the nod by Faz for this game was, you know, it was a huge honour, and I knew I had to step up for it. So hopefully I did it justice, and hopefully I'll be here again next week.
Tyg Byrne speaking to Sky Sports. Let's hear now from the try scorer Dan Sheehan.
It's brilliant. You know, that's probably something that reminds me of sort of that World Cup a couple of years ago with the atmosphere there before the kick-off. The place was bouncing. A great sort of 50-50, I'd say, in the crowd, which was brilliant. Proper test what we feel about it, and you know, I think we'll be happy with that. There's a lot of stuff we can work on, but the most important thing is it's 1-0 to us, and we'll get into next week and prep well for next week.
And can you tell the people at home, we sort of see these warm-up games
and then a test match. Is it 2, 3, 4? How many levels above is it in terms of physicality and the test it puts on you?
I think you could feel it from the first minute there. Australia tried to play out, and there's some big collisions going straight away, and we get a penalty, and that changes momentum straight away. So it is definitely a level up. There's a lot on the line. Two proud teams. Yeah. 2 proud nations, but there's 5 proud nations there. And I think we did a good job today of just sort of controlling the front end of collisions, and probably needed to play a bit more territory based, but I think we're real happy with that.
Dan Sheehan speaking to Sky Sports, Will Greenwood there after the Lions win over Australia today. And the Saturday panel on Off the Ball brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care, proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions. Upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care, because care changes everything. We have Devin Toner and we have Hugh Farrelly in studio. Did you take anything out of those interviews, stock interviews? Move on.
I thought Ty Burns spoke really well. Like, there's a sense of humility there, acknowledging that he hadn't had his best form in the running. I mean, the amount of games that guy's played this season for Munster and Ireland, he's just relentless. And it's to hear him say that just shows like what quality he is and the sense of self-recognition. And I just thought he spoke really well there.
He's been around the houses, as we know. Tiger went to Wales, was obviously at Leinster at one stage, went to Munster, and is it a great kind of second part to his career?
100%. He's been phenomenal ever since he kind of left Leinster, I suppose. I think when he was in the academy set up in Leinster, I think he had a few injuries and it didn't really kind of break through. But then obviously after he went to Wales and came back and went to Munster, the trajectory of his career has been brilliant. Especially, obviously, he's a breakdown merchant. He's very good in the line out, so he's an asset to any team we have. Any time we used to play against him, we always used to obviously look out for the scrum cap and just try and clear him out before he gets anywhere near your ruck, because he's obviously such an asset in that part of the game.
Let's go to Brisbane and say good day to Quinny, Alan Quinlan, former Irish international. How are you, Quinny?
I'm good, John. Yeah, just back at the hotel. Strange one. I think obviously I didn't get a chance to listen to what the lads were saying after the game there, but it seemed, and you had that sense after 20 minutes that there was a lot of dominance, a lot of physical dominance from the Lions, and they were winning a lot of collisions, stopping Australia. They looked quite bland at times and poor and ran out of ideas. And I think when Dan Sheehan scores that try after half-time, game is essentially over. Australia did rally in the second half and probably latter parts of the game and got a little bit more cohesion and flow to their game. Their substitutes made a bit of a difference to them. But, it was expected result, I suppose. A little bit disappointing from a contest point of view, that it just kind of seemed it was done and dusted when it was 24-5.
What did you see at the stadium, Quinny, that we wouldn't see on the television?
I think the shape of this Lions team was really good. I think they could have scored another couple of tries. Australia were hanging on a lot, and I think you see in the wider pictures when you're kind of in the ground, the work rate of the players. They're obviously, I think they're battle hardened. And I actually met Les Kiss today, and I was chatting to him about, my concern of Australia had one game against Fiji, undercooked. The Lions have had 6 before this first test, and I know they're a team coming together, but most international teams, when they kind of get together for the start of their season, there's a bit of rust there. You got to get players gelling together again, and I know it's a bigger, probably, amount of work to do for the Lions to get their systems and all that stuff in place, but it told. I think the Lions looked really battle-hardened, and I was very impressed with some big individual performances. Ty Burns was outstanding, 23 tackles, I think 3 turnovers. Tom Curry was phenomenal. Just the work rate of players. And, asking about what you see, particularly in my position where I played in the back row, you see the work rate of Conan and Curry and Byrne, the way they were bouncing up off the ground, making so many numerous tackles. I thought Ty Farrell played really well. Was putting himself about, made a lot of hard carries. the front row, I think the whole pack was really good. They complemented each other, and you see that work rate and that organisation really started to click for the Lions tonight. Of course, they could have been a little bit better with their attack and a couple of more passes stick. They turned the ball over a couple of times. They could have got another couple of tries, but there's always going to be a backlash from Australia when there was an eerie kind of an atmosphere in the stadium. It was jovial at the start. It was exciting. Everybody was waiting with anticipation for this game. But as I said, it just felt like there was one team that, something drastically bad had to happen for the Lions to lose that game. So they were pretty dominant for a period of time that they needed to be. And credit to Australia, they bounced back a little bit. I listened to the post-match stuff from Joe Schmidt, and he said Valentini and Skelton both trained this morning, and they did a fitness session and a contact session. They came through that really well, so they'll be back for the second test. So I think they can take a little bit Australia from the end, and it took them a while to kind of get going. Tate McDermott was very good at scrum half when he came on. He offered a different sort of threat, but up to that point, they didn't really offer anything, Australia.
We got Alan Quinlan, Hugh Farrelly and Devin Toner are with us in studio as well.
I think Quinny's point there about being undercooked is very valid. I think that match against Fiji and then straight into this is not adequate preparation. And if you look at Joe Schmidt's history, I know Devin would remember 2013. I think his first game in charge was against Australia, and we weren't good. And the following week against the All Blacks, it was phenomenal. It was the one that Ryan Crotty took away from us the last play of the game. So what Alan says there about Skelton and Valentini coming back, you could see it in the carries today. They just didn't have enough heft behind it, So you bring those two back. Joe has a week behind it. The players have a week behind them. And let's hope this is the case, that they raise it appreciably for next week, because we need this series to have a heartbeat,
Yeah, match fitness is so key when it comes to these international games. I think it doesn't matter how much fitness you can do on the pitch. Nothing compares to an actual game. And to only have one game going as a team going into the series, I don't think is enough. And I think it kind of told today. But in terms of the kind of series, it's great for the series that the Lions didn't run away with it. And I think it's going to tee it up next week to obviously a more exciting game, hopefully.
Because the Lions have all these games to gel, Quinny, and to get to the pitch. And after 12 years, you'd think that the Wallabies would have had more of a run-in time.
Yeah, it's not as if this just came upon Australia. I was surprised. I'm name dropping here, John.
No problem, Quinny. Go on. You always do it, Quinny. Go on.
Yeah. Well, I actually bumped into Joe last night. I didn't arrange to meet him, and I met Laurie Fisher, and I didn't want to be the kind of ex-player, media pundit, whatever you want to call me, asking them questions to make it awkward for them, and them feel like, oh, I'm prying here and I'm going to use some information. But I felt both of them were very relaxed. They were confident. They were conscious and wary of and disappointed, obviously, that two big hitters like Valentini and Hugh knows himself, and Dev knows, these games, you set a platform up front and you need ball carriers in a pack, and the Lions had plenty of them. And, credit to Australia, they didn't wilt. They didn't kind of, as Dev said, it wasn't a cricket score here, and that's thankfully saved the series. But there was a period there when I was 24-5 that genuinely the stadium was quiet. There was loads of people going out getting beers, coming back in. People were chatting in front of me. I was a couple of Australians there, and I was tapped on them on the shoulder, and I said, do you realise your team are actually coming back a little bit here, and they possibly could score? And he was a little bit surprised that there was a match going on. There was four of them in front of us. So, yeah, look, I think I expected Joe to kind of pull a rabbit out of the hat. Now, they tried some kind of strike plays that the Lions defended really well, and you've got to give credit to the Lions. Their defence was outstanding. They had great intensity in their line speed. But I didn't go asking Joe last night, but it was on my mind. Why did you only play one game? So I can't answer why. There's obviously a reason behind whether it was Super Rugby ran on a little bit long. But you think that they would have had, 3 or 4 games. Even if they played the Brumbies or the Waratahs or the Reds and the Force, even a combined 2 teams out of the 4 Super Rugby teams, they could have got a hit last weekend with the team. You know what I mean? They played Fiji and they were, good against Fiji at times, but very porous in defence, and Fiji tore them apart and probably should have won that game. So I think they'll be better next week. I think the feeling here in Brisbane yesterday, today, this morning, meeting people, Australians and Lions supporters, that the narrative was, look, the Lions will win this one. Valentini, Gleeson may be back, Skelton, and that they'll be better next week. So let's hope that's the case, because I think it just, even though the game was very, very intense, don't get me wrong, and like the hits were phenomenal, the ferocity to breakdown was very, very high. There was a high intensity to it, but it was flat at times as regards just building pressure and teams hanging on for dear life. It lacked that little bit of a spark to the game.
People going out for beers, Quinny. Sounds like the Aviva.
Yeah, there's of course, there's a massive Lions support here. It's incredible. A lot of Irish here with their Lions jerseys on. Yeah, I'm sure they'll all celebrate tonight. But as I said,
any Munster jerseys, Leinster jerseys, Quinny?
I spotted a few Munster ones. I didn't spot any Leinster jerseys, to be honest. I think the Munster ones can kind of blend in with the red. I haven't seen any Kerry jerseys yet. You usually see a Kerry jersey, don't you, everywhere? And I saw one Tipperary jersey, actually. That might be a good omen for tomorrow. But I'm not sure. Tip will be beating Cork. Cork are firm favourites there. But there's a good atmosphere. Listen, that's the nature of the Lions, really. It's kind of... I didn't want to be disrespectful when I said last week on the Off the Ball show with the lads that it's strange, if when the 4 countries come together like this, of course the supporters want the team to win, but if Australia won tonight, they'd still be partying. You know what I mean? It's different than your own country. It was just kind of a strange one, really. And let's hope it's better next week. I think it will be better. Obviously, Joe, Laurie Fisher, and the rest of his coaches, they put their best foot forward with the players they have. And I think that game will stand to him tonight. And it was really, really important. We probably... all 3 of us know, as ex-players and involved in rugby for a long time, that kind of match fitness, that taking those knocks, that intensity, being able to fix little combinations, does make a huge difference. So I think Australia will be better. The challenge was, can Andy Farrell build on his team's performance tonight? And I'm sure they'll be frustrated a little bit that they didn't, push on and get a big scoreline, because, when you're a player or a coach involved with that team in that situation, you would have wanted to kick on and make a real statement. But it's I think Australia will be better next week, but they were poor for particularly in that first half. A lot of lateral stuff and lacked those ball carriers to win gain lines from.
Quinny, can I just ask you about Suaili? Like what the hype is like over there. I was a bit disappointed with him today. Like, I know...
Yeah, very much so.
Rugby league crossovers are very hit and miss. Andy Farrell himself, Sam Burgess. The only one I can think of is Jason Robinson being unequivocally top-notch. But I thought I'd see more from Suaili. Do you think it was like because they were on the back foot, or from line, or what was your take on it?
I think they were on the back foot a little bit. The Lions obviously slowed their ball down, and they looked like they were... confused at times, whether Gordon would get rid of the ball or actually set up a box kick. And then they kind of lost a second or two at some breakdowns, and quite lateral they were. And they didn't kind of break down that kind of defensive line that the lines would have had, and they were very well set. So, to be fair, Hugh Jones marked him well. Tupelo on the inside. Often Suali had to just put the head down and kind of try and pin the ears back, which is not the player. He is very powerful and strong, but he's very tall and rangy, and he's a brilliant offloading game. He is a special talent. They know it here, but I think Ikitow at 12 as well got well marshalled. They were the two players that you would have hoped from an Australian point of view would come up with something special, because they're those X-factor players. But I think a lot of the problems for Australia were from 10 inwards, and they came off second best, all those players, the halfbacks and the pack for the vast majority, most of that first half. And they just didn't get over gain lines and put the lines in the back foot. So even when they had pressure and momentum, Tyburn pops up with a brilliant turnover. Curry makes a vital tackle. Atoje slows the ball down, whatever the case may be. And, he was on the back foot a lot, but I do think he is a special player and a special talent. And but probably didn't have his best game in a sense tonight. He looked like a fellow who was running at players where this is a notch up again from Super Rugby. He has been very dominant and performed really well. And obviously coming from Rugby League, he's not afraid of the physical challenge and stuff like that. But got well marshalled tonight and couldn't find any sort of space.
I think a lot of credit needs to go here to Simon Easterby as well and the defence. Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't see a lot from Suaalii and other than because of the defence and the pressure that was coming from the inside, and they were kind of shutting stuff down early, especially in that first 60 minutes. I think the defence was really good. And now, obviously, Simon Easterby, like a lot has been said about him as a player and a coach, that he's very, very detailed. And obviously, I've seen it as a coach as well. He's really so detailed and so nailed on in everything he does. So obviously, that was a good positive to come from today, is the defence.
And they kicked a lot as well, Dev. I think Australia were forced to kick because there was 2-3 Lions players kind of charging down at somebody when they had the ball. And Russell actually in Gibson Park tactically kicked very well. We know it's a vital part of the modern game, the box kick, the territorial kick, and they were on the front foot. Finn Russell had a lot of time and space in the ball, and Gibson Park box kick brilliantly as well. And then, you had wingers challenging in the air, and Australia were working off scraps. I do give them credit in a sense that it wasn't as if they kind of went into their shell and didn't stop playing a sense. They tried to find space, but they didn't really engage they didn't put that Lions defensive line on the back foot for long enough period. Both you guys know, if you're a defensive line and you're defending for 4, 5, 6, 7 phases, it's manageable. You're not out on your feet. You're not having to double job, triple job, get back on your feet multiple times to get in the defensive line. And they never really got into the double figures of rucks and continuity, particularly in that first half. So the Lions looked really energetic getting off the line, and that caused Australia a lot of problems. They were lacking that punch really, and I mentioned all the ball carriers that were popping up, and Genge made a lot of carries. Sheehan, you could go through them all again. They were the ones who were making the hard yards, and we know again, those hard yards sometimes they look ugly, but they're important because it wears out the opposition a little bit, and that didn't happen for Australia tonight.
Any talk out there, Quinny, about Wales, the fact that they've had nobody in the squad the first time since 1899?
Yeah, there's been loads of talk, John. 12 years ago, when the Lions toured Australia in 2013, there was 15 Welsh players in the Lions squad. There was only 2 at the start of this. Thomas Williams went home. I think everywhere we kind of went in the last couple of days, it's Jack Morgan should be starting. He's been hard done by. Why isn't he on the bench? And I just think, I had a chat with somebody after the game tonight, walking out of the stadium, a Welsh person. Genuinely, it was an interesting chat because we were both actually going through the quality of all these back row players. you're splitting hairs between the vast majority of them. You know, Henry Pollock is the maverick on the scene, really, and you kind of think, yeah, okay, if you even removed Henry Pollock, which seems a bit unfair because he's a phenomenal talent, and just went through the other players, they're all top quality internationals, proven internationals. You know, if you put Josh van der Fleer in there tonight at 7 and put Chesham at 6 and put Ben Earl at 8, would that have kind of really restricted or caused the Lions problems, or Andy Farrell any sort of concern about putting a back row like that out? So they're all top quality players. And of course, it is sad that there's not a number of Welsh players here. But it's just the run of matches they had, and it's the form that they kind of have produced in the last 18 months. Jack Morgan being the exception. You know, he's been behind a lot of beaten packs, and he's just a phenomenal player. But I think Andy Farrell would be really pleased, because he would have heard some of the noise about, you know, from Welsh people and on the media and stuff like that. Whether he pays any attention or not, I don't know. I think Andy is very astute, and I put a lot of trust in him. You know, I find even when you ask me something about Ireland over the years, I just find it hard to critique him, because I just think he's earned the right to kind of back his intuition, and he backs Curry in this call here. And I think Jack Morgan was probably in better form. You could argue Ben Earl has the best stats out of all the back row players between carries, tackles, turnovers. He's on the bench, but I thought Tom Curry was outstanding. I'm not sure what the lads think. I think he's just a machine, and he probably, you know, when I saw him play for England against Ireland in that first Six Nations game this year, I thought, wow, that's the Tom Curry that kind of came on the scene a few years ago, and he's had a few dreadful injuries, but I just thought his intensity and physicality and presence tonight was just non-stop. I thought he could have easily got player of the match as well. Himself and Ty Byrne were probably the two that were above the rest. But it is disappointing, you know. Jack Morgan's a great player, and as I said, you could flip the back row around and make 3 changes in the back row next week, and I don't think it weakens this Lions team.
What about then, Quinny, the second test in Melbourne? Who will be pushing for inclusion and maybe hoping to get a start? Or is it the case with Farrell that, look, we want to win the series, we stick with pretty much the team we play today?
Yeah, I think it's... Lions test matches are not really a rotation scenario unless you're the series won or the series lost. You know, so usually we've seen historically in third test of Lions series, either of what I mentioned that happens. You see changes, you see the rest of the squad getting a crack at a test match. But, you know, I think he'll want to put it to bed next week and make sure that I would expect Australia to be better. He would expect Australia to be better. I think everybody would, because whether they're good enough still, if they get Valentini and Skelton back, that will give their group a real boost, because, you know, we know the power and the physicality that both those players have. If you add in the fact that they have this match under their belt, they'll analyse and they might find some issues and problems that they've had, whether they need to kick more, find territory, you know, protect the ball better, get it out to the wings quicker, whatever the case may be, they will be better. So I think Andy Farrell will know that, and he'll want to put his best foot forward again. And, you know, as I said, there's a couple of positions you could change. You could easily put Andrew Porter in, as Lou said, ahead of Genge. And again, there's no real question marks. You could argue that, you know, I think Genge did deserve to kind of get the nod over Andrew Porter, but that's a brilliant conundrum for Andy Farrell, because he's 2 world-class loose heads, you know, going at it there. And I don't really see any sort of other changes. I think if Gary Ringrose was fit, you know, he may, it'll probably be a tough call on Hugh Jones. He was unlucky he didn't get that try tonight. Blair Kinghorn is the other one. Would he come back in for Hugo Keenan? Because, you know, potentially and realistically, he probably would have started if he was fit. But I thought Hugo played really well, and he showed his quality. And obviously, the try Jorgensen gets is unlucky. The two of them are tangling for the ball in the air, and he gets it out of the grasp of Hugo and scores a brilliant try, individual try. But I doubt if there'll be multiple changes. What you could see here, John, is possibly a couple of changes from the bench starting. He might say, right, okay, it's your chance now to go for 50 minutes next week. So there might be a little bit of rotation there, but I doubt very much if there'll be wholesale changes. He'll want to just get this job done now, and then if it is done, it's open season then for the third test for everybody to get a run at a test match.
You were saying earlier, Quinny, the one thing, like the Lions didn't show too much weak areas today. There was not a whole lot you say, this is where they struggled. But one thing that I think will have annoyed Farrell is the impact off the bench, like we were saying earlier. So I think Quinny's right. I think they might introduce a bit of more of an X factor thing, like Pollock or somebody.
Yeah,
Chesham is a guy. He's been grand, but I wouldn't have seen it as being like explosive off the bench. So maybe his position could be looked at as well. But as Quinny says, overall, it'd be pretty similar, I'd say.
Quinny, when are you next on a plane?
When am I next on a plane? Monday, John. Going to Melbourne, so we can relax a little bit tomorrow in Brisbane here, and I'll pick up the Sunday papers for you here in Brisbane, John, and I'll bring them home or screenshot them for you and see what the reaction is. But it's on to Melbourne now on Monday, and obviously the game is there Tuesday night, so Andy Farrell want those players to stay dialed in as well. And who knows, if somebody puts their hand up on Tuesday night and has a top class game, they might put themselves in a position to be involved next weekend.
Quinny, safe travels. Thanks.
Cheers, lads. Thanks.
Alan Quinlan live from Brisbane. Devin, you got the last word. Job done today.
Job done today, but I think Andy Farrell says it in his little snippet from Sky Sports. Like, it's obviously a huge occasion for all of these players and a huge amount of pressure going into them, and it's really good to just get that one under the belt and move on to the next one. I think the pressure leading up into this series, into everything that everyone has gone through, like the amount of the media, everyone analysing everything they can do. I think the fact that they played well in the first half, the first 60 minutes, obviously fell away in the last. To get it under the belt and get on to the next one is really good for them. And as I said before, it's great that they didn't actually run away with it. So we're actually the hype going into the second test is going to be a lot bigger. So as Andy said, it's great to get it done. On to the next one.
Devin, Toner, Hugh, Farrelly, thank you so much for coming in, guys.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thanks,
appreciate your time. And on Off the Ball Saturday here on News Talk. That was the Saturday panel this week, after the Lions' victory 27-19 over Australia. And the Saturday panel on Off the Ball brought to you by Dove Men Plus Care, proud sponsors of the British and Irish Lions. Upgrade to Dove Men Plus Care, because care changes everything. We've the small